It's Sky Noon. Hi all, this is Evan from MindMine and we present to you Sky Noon by Lunar, Rooster. Now as it says on the site, in an alternate reality, the Western Cartels have taken to the sky in a bid to control the world's most powerful resource, water. Sky Noon is a first-person shooter with Brawler mechanics. Players are equipped with a grappling hook, a lasso, and an arsenal of weapons and abilities. Emphasizing speed and positioning in combat, there is no health in Sky Noon. Players eliminate their enemies by pushing and pulling them off the floating frontier. You could think of this slightly as Fortnite meets Super Smash Bros. Some of the key features you'll experience in Sky Noon are grappling hooks, a unique push-pull combat style, a 2 to 8 player online multiplayer, unique floating maps, a large arsenal of abilities and weapons, multiple game modes, single player time trial mode, character customization, and of course, character progression. Now onto the core weapons and special abilities. For your weapons, which are all air-based, so you better kiss goodbye to those bullets, you're gonna have a 6-shooter or revolver, a double-barrel shotgun, a lasso, fully automatic pistol, and what I like to call a hand cannon. Basically, think of it as the weapon Pharah uses in Overwatch. Now, besides the lasso, all of these weapons are air-based. So that means that everything that fires out of these weapons, well, it's just pure air. But the other thing to think about is the fact that these weapons also have a limited amount of ammo before you'll have to switch out to another weapon, which is kind of weird if you think about it, as the air is all around you, especially as you're in the sky, and your gun takes in the air from the sky, and yet you have limited ammo. But I digress. And now onto those beautiful special abilities. Now, just like the weapons where you're only allowed to have one weapon in one of your hands at a time, the other hand holds one of the special abilities, which of course you can only have one special ability at a time as well. Starting off, what you have is Dynamite, which is all air-based, and you can actually cook it a little bit longer in your hand before letting it go, so that way it explodes sooner. There are also remote mines, a teleporter, a dash booster, which is nice in the sense of it shoots you in the direction you're facing, but we did have a few, let's say, minor issues of the game crashing when we tried to shoot upward into the sky with the dash booster. Then of course you also have jet boots. What you do is you hold down on the shift key and it propels you up in the air and lets you float for a little bit, once again kind of like the booster Pharah has in Overwatch, until your fuel or air runs out, which then you have to let it refill again fully before using it again. There's also one other mechanic in the game that might be easily looked over, but that you can still do, which is crouching by using the left control key. We're still not too sure what the utility of this is in a game that requires you to constantly keep moving, but it's there. Outside of all of these in-game mechanics, there's also customization. And from looking at the customization section, it does lead us to believe that they'll be having lots of cosmetic items that you'll be able to unlock or purchase. Several items currently available had different color text, which of course usually means that it's trying to differentiate the different rarity of those customizations. So this could be the way of funding the game if they make it for free to play. So at this point, after us playing it, what were the positives and what seemed to be some of the detriments? Well, first let's take on the positives. It has a very fun art style, kind of similar to Fortnite in a sense, that makes it easy for anyone visually to take interest in it, whether you're young or old. It also is really intriguing and creative in the sense of its weapon creations. They're based on real weapons, but they really top it off with being air-powered and how they're air-powered. They've really notched up the creativity in the design of those weapons. You're also looking at a unique concept of a Western in the air, and instead of making it a hero shooter with life bars, you're focusing on eliminations. There's also a huge potential for large, crazy maps and even more interesting weapons down the line. Outside of weapons, being able to have a changing special ability is really great and can keep the other players on their toes. The options they provide can be really handy and are also very creative within themselves. So overall, you never quite know what an enemy has in comparison to what you have. It can be very hard to strategize, and you have to be very much in the moment to plan accordingly. Also, being able to utilize a lasso to pull in mystery crates that hold weapons and skills can really be handy in order to save you time and to keep you constantly moving without having to stop and becoming an open target for your enemies. You can even use the lasso as a weapon to pull enemies away and potentially off ledges. There are also several fans that are typically laid within the map, so that way it can blow you around from space to space if you're trying to get somewhere very quickly or away from someone very quickly, but you can also use it as a weapon against the enemy, especially if you use your lasso to pull them into the fan and then away from you. Now, don't let the visuals fool you. Even though artistically it looks similar to Fortnite, it isn't. It's actually probably closer to something like Lawbreakers in the sense of speed and movement. So if you really were a fan of Lawbreakers or similar games, you might have some fun playing around with a game like this. Now, another nice point is that you can melee in this game by using the F key. So if you run out of ammo and you're not sure what else to do and you get an enemy right in front of you, you can easily melee them to push them back and get away. And finally, probably one of our last perks that we have to mention is the fact the lasso attack does have a cooldown. Now you may ask why? I mean, why is that a good thing? How is that a positive? I want to be able to annihilate everyone! Well, the thing is that it can be abused and people could constantly be spamming it. So with that, having a cooldown actually makes a lot of sense, especially as it does have a fairly long range to it. Now, of course, as the saying goes, there are two sides to every coin. So we talked about the positives, but what are some of the detriments? What are some of the issues that we currently faced in this beta? Well, first off, during this beta, all servers were player servers, which means you can receive odd lag and other situations, and also can benefit the host of the match who's also playing against you. Now, eventually there will be dedicated servers, but at this point, it wasn't the most pleasant of experiences. We also noticed that with the grappling hook, it can be worthless a lot of the time. Many times the hooks would not grab onto what you needed when you needed it. You could get blasted back many times and your hook wouldn't grab onto anything. When the hook did grab, you could pull yourself back to land only to be knocked back again and then have your grappling hook fail miserably the second time around, as it would just keep bouncing off the land you originally were able to grip onto in the first place. Also, there were times when weapons would hit point blank on someone and barely hit them, and other times where it would blow them all the way across the map. Anytime this would happen, of course, the grappling hook once again would fail every time to grab onto anything to pull you back in. We also noticed something that, well, is definitely not the fault of any player you fight against or yourself. And we're talking here about spawning into the map in the first place. When you spawn into the air and fall down toward the land. But there were several times where it would spawn you too far to get to land and you would just end up eliminating yourself due to spawning in and falling to your death. As a benefit, if you enjoyed Lawbreakers and other games similar to that, you probably would enjoy this game. But if you hate Lawbreakers or any game similar to it, then you probably won't like this game either. Also, throughout the closed beta process, we had multiple crashes when trying to load into games or performing certain maneuvers within the game or the practice area. If you're a streamer and you want to stream this game, there is a bit of a concern from us that you should be aware of. In recording this gameplay, we did have constant black screens when trying to do anything through OBS. The game would function fine, OBS would function fine, but yet we still wouldn't be able to see the game in OBS. We'd be able to see the cursor and all of its movements, but that was it. We ended up having to close down the game multiple times and OBS multiple times to get it to work again. Now, this mechanic is something that was also in Super Smash Bros. And many other similar games, but in this game, it just feels kind of annoying. And that is that you can be eliminated by going too far upward directly above the map, which just seems kind of stupid for a game that is meant to have you stay upward and above the playing field the entire time. If you went too far upward in some of the other Brawler games, you'd also be eliminated. So again, this will probably be hit or miss depending on the person playing. Throughout this closed beta, there seemed to be a little bit of a loophole for players that they just wanted to keep abusing. And that is that they would intentionally eliminate themselves if that means that they could eliminate someone else as well. So basically, they could jump off, not be penalized from what we could see, but yet still be able to shoot someone in the air if they're trying to pull themselves onto land, or maybe they're on a ledge, and they would get eliminated and eliminate someone else and get the credit for that elimination. We saw it where people tended to do this almost every single time and would be one of the top 3 players at the end of the match. There's also the other issue of the fact that you can easily get one-shotted in this game and be launched so quickly across the map that you can't do anything to save yourself. This can happen multiple times in a row to you, and suddenly the game is over. There are times where it just feels like it's worthless trying to play in a match. Many would say that, well, you just need to get good. The problem is that if you're constantly getting one-shotted, you have no time to really learn from it and also learn from the specific situation, as in there's no way of knowing how someone hit you and from what angle and with what weapon and what have you. What is our final verdict with all of this information? Well, overall, it seems like a really cool concept, but there are still issues to address. Now, luckily though, this is a beta test, so there's still plenty of time to get it really becoming a smooth, oiled machine that really flows well and can be a lot of fun. We would have to say though, in its current condition, that if it became open beta and they charged for it, we wouldn't pay for it. There is potential, but there still needs to be more work done. Hopefully when open beta comes, they'll make it free to play and build off their ideas while getting the player base they need and make it something fairly unique and fun. We wish Lunar Rooster the best of luck with this game, and we look forward to seeing how they continue to develop Sky Noon. If you liked this breakdown of Sky Noon, you'll love our other videos. Make sure to click the subscribe button and feel free to share your experiences and thoughts on Sky Noon in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time out there on that digital frontier.